Hi Nine, it's Miss Rasmussen here with your week 2 biology lesson, looking at diffusion and active transport, which is going to start with a quick recap from last week. So your previous lesson was microscopes. Got 4 questions for you. So what I'd like you to do is have a look at the questions, pause the video and then self-assess. So the first question is name the 2 types of microscope. The second one, which one has a good or a higher magnification? How do you calculate image size? And then which microscope would you use if you needed to transport it? And I want you to convince me, so give a reason why. So 2 types of microscope, these are from your fact book, light microscope and electron microscope. The electron microscope has a good magnification or a better magnification and a better resolution. Image size is equal to actual size times magnification. And then if you needed to transport your microscope, you would need it to be portable. So you would want a light microscope. They are small, they are portable, they are light. So today we are looking at diffusion and active transport. 2 facts that you need to learn from this lesson is the definition for diffusion, so the movement of particles from an area of high concentration to an area of lower concentration, and the definition for active transport, which is the movement of particles from a low concentration to a high concentration through a partially permeable membrane using energy from respiration. So we're going to have a look at some things to do with diffusion and active transport. So first of all, what I'd like you to do is just imagine a smell. Maybe someone took their socks off, really stinky socks. And I just want you to have a think, how does that smell travel? So it's going to start off, there's going to be loads of the smell here by the smelly sock, but it is going to spread out. So just have a think about how that happens. Now, when we're talking about transport, about movement, we need to think about concentration. It's really important that you can get your head around this. So when we talk about concentration, we talk about things being diluted or concentrated. The more particles of something there is, the more concentrated it is. So here's some juice, loads and loads of juice or squash particles in there. It's really concentrated. And then as we move down, we're having fewer of these particles, so it's becoming more diluted. So this would be a high concentration, this would be a low concentration. And that's really important in transport. So make sure you understand what we mean by concentrated, what we mean by diluted or a low concentration. So going back to the idea of socks and thinking about what diffusion is the movement of particles from an area of high concentration to an area of lower concentration. So if we imagine our socks, there's our really stinky socks, and we've got a really high concentration of these stinky particles here. And what's going to happen in diffusion is they are going to spread out. So they're going to go from where it's high concentration to areas where it's lower concentration. So they're going to spread all the way around. Be quite random, so they'll all move around. They do keep moving. I know I don't show it on this, but they do keep moving. So it's all spreading out. So this really stinky socks is now smelling out the whole room. So diffusion is the movement of particles from an area of high concentration to an area of lower concentration. So what I'd like you to do, pause the video and draw out your own example of diffusion. You can use this one, do smelly socks, you might want to do body spray, anything, but sketch out your own example to show what happens in diffusion, and I want your particles to show this high to low concentration. Okay, so diffusion is really important in living things. I've put 3 examples down here, but there are quite a few more. These are the 3 main ones. So oxygen moves by diffusion from a high concentration in the lungs to a low concentration in the blood. Glucose will move from blood into the cells where it's needed for respiration. And carbon dioxide will move from a higher concentration in the atmosphere into the leaf. Now, all of the exchange surfaces are going to be adapted. They're going to have special features which help them to carry this out. What I would like you to do is pause, take a good 20-30 minutes to do this. I'd like you to research how an exchange surface, so for example, the lungs, but you could also have in the leaf. Fish gills, how are they adapted for exchange? Be really creative with how you present your ideas. And if you can send your ideas into your biology teacher, we would absolutely love to see them. Okay, so welcome back. You've hopefully done your research. Just a little bit about rate of diffusion. So the rate or the speed of diffusion can change. The hotter the temperature, the faster the diffusion. This is because the particles will have more kinetic energy and will be moving quicker. The larger the surface area, the faster the diffusion, and hopefully you would have found out about that in your research. So for example, the alveoli in the lungs or gills in a fish increase the surface area. And then finally, the greater the concentration difference, the faster the diffusion. And what we mean by this is the difference between the high and the low. So this is a really high concentration and a really low concentration. So we say this has got a large concentration gradient. So this, in this example, diffusion would go from here to here quite quickly. In this one, there isn't much difference. This is still higher and this is lower, so the particles would move in this direction, but it wouldn't happen as much because there is a smaller concentration gradient. So that is all about diffusion, the movement of particles from an area of high concentration to an area of lower concentration. So just see what you've learned. Have a quick look at this. Oxygen can move in and out of cells by diffusion. Into which cell will the oxygen move quickest? And these dots here are your oxygen molecules. So just pause, have a quick think and come back with the answer, please. Okay, so welcome back. Hopefully you've got your answer. The correct answer is going to be A. The reason is we've got a higher concentration outside than inside. Won't be B because you've not got much of a concentration difference, same with D. And C, your higher concentration is inside, so the oxygen would be moving out. Okay, the next type of transport we're going to look at is active transport. So we've said diffusion is moving from a high concentration to a low concentration. But what if we needed to move these particles the other way? That's where active transport comes in. So what active transport is the movement of particles from low concentration to a high concentration through a partially permeable membrane using energy from respiration. So let's just break that down. I've got the definition there for you. This is also in your fact books. So it's the movement of particles from a low concentration to a high concentration. So we're going from where there aren't very many to where there are lots. It's through a, it's using energy. So the energy that we need to do it is released in respiration, and that moves the particles. And then it goes through a partially permeable membrane. So a partially permeable membrane is something like a cell membrane, but it will only let certain molecules pass through. And it tends to be to do with size, so larger molecules can't pass through. So what happens is this energy will be used to physically push these particles from this low to high concentration. So when we're thinking about active transport and the need of energy, the best way to think about it is this. This is our concentration gradient. We've got a high concentration here. We've got a low concentration here. So for diffusion, it's dead easy. The particles will just go. They are going down the concentration gradient. They don't need any energy. In active transport, you are trying to push them up the other way. They are moving from a low concentration here to a high concentration. It's tough, it's hard work. So they need to have the energy. And that's why we call it active transport, because it's using energy. So diffusion is a type of passive transport, whereas active transport needs energy. So what I'd like you to do, pause your video again and create your own diagram or explanation. It's entirely up to you, whichever you feel most confident doing. But I want it to show why active transport needs energy. So think about showing this concentration gradient and show which direction the particles move in diffusion and in active transport. Okay, so hopefully you've got your summary. Just to recap, the facts that I need you to learn for this week for biology is that diffusion is the movement of particles from an area of high concentration to an area of low concentration. And then active transport is the movement of particles from a low concentration to a high concentration through a partially permeable membrane using energy from respiration. So what I would do when you're learning these facts, try and first of all focus on these key words. So diffusion is movement, high to low. Once you've got those key words, you can then start to add in the other bits. So then diffusion is movement from high to low. Diffusion is the movement of particles from high to low. Diffusion is the movement of particles from high concentration to low concentration. So start with those absolute fundamental key words of what's happening. And I will see you guys next week on the next video, which will be osmosis. So look after yourselves. Any problems, please email one of your biology teachers. Take care.